Spending 3 hours in Unicorn Overlord's menu setting up if-then statements for a battle that lasts 10 seconds is the game's true core gameplay loop.
Yeah, but the automation is incredibly satisfying when a plan finally comes together perfectly.
Getting it all set up is a very tactful way to spend an afternoon.
Of course, but all that preparation is monumental undertaking.
Being able to fly over mountains and bypass enemy barricades gives Griffin Knight units the ultimate tactical advantage.
You're right. They can strike from the sky and retreat before the enemy even knows what hit them.
Those units really do soar above the competition.
Indeed, they definitely have a bird's eye view of the war.
Every good JRPG protagonist should have an older mentor who starts at a high level and teaches them everything they know. This game has Joseph.
Yep, Joseph is the backbone of the early liberation, guiding Elaine through the basics of warfare.
He's a very sophisticated advisor.
He's a real knight in shining armor.
I really enjoyed the sense of character progression in Unicorn Overlord. Finally spending the honors to move a unit into their advanced class feels like a massive power spike.
Oh, hell yeah. Watching a simple soldier become a paladin or a sellsword become a Landsknecht is very rewarding.
It warms my heart to see the units finally get the promotion they deserve.
Indeed, it is a very classy move.
Oh, to wrap this up, I must say that the 2D hand-drawn art is so beautiful. When this game was first shown, every screenshot looked like a high-end painting.
That's true. Vanillaware really has that signature style that is impossible to mistake for anything else.
The visuals are truly illustrious.
Very much so. The art team has a lot of experience to draw from.
They're silly and they're goofy, mysterious and spoofy. Camco makes them loopy, the Backtrack family. Their podcast is a blast, talking games from the past. They break down every class, the Backtrack family.
Beat. Defeat. Complete.
They trash things they abhor, and praise things they adore. They never are a bore, the Backtrack family.
Boss brother! Snake! Snake!
Hello and welcome to RPG Backtrack, your regular deep dive into your favorite RPGs. We are a production of RPGamer.com, bringing you such fine podcasts like RPG Cast, your weekly RPG news show, Q&A Quest, your weekly RPG feedback show, and us, your bi-weekly RPG nostalgia show. I am your host, Kelly Ryan, and not with me is my co-host podcast partner in crime, Matt Mason. So I didn't have to come up with a pair of characters to compare us to. Luckily, this is a game that has a lot of characters to choose from, so I can just go down our line of guests. Joining me tonight, we've got Ryan Costa.
Hello, hello.
Ryan McCarthy.
Hello?
Cassie.
Hello, everybody.
And Elena.
Howdy.
Now, I'm probably going to say Dalindar for Ryan C, just so that I don't confuse you two.
That's okay.
And we are talking about Unicorn Overlord tonight. Vanillaware game with a lively cast of characters. I know this comparison is gonna come up a lot, but very much a Fire Emblem like with how many characters there are to recruit.
The report conversations are very similar too.
That and like the skit said, having an older character that's a unit that kind of carries you through the first few battles that you're afraid to use because you don't want them to eat up all the EXP.
But a Jagan's not a Jagan.
But yeah, one of our few 5 out of 5s on the site, thanks to Dalendar.
Yeah, this was something that I just kind of realized the more and more I played it, the more I tried writing about it, that there wasn't really anything I could say that was negative in a way that would drop it from below a 5 out of 5, other than nitpicking.
And not Vanillaware's first RTS because technically wasn't Grimoire an RTS?
Depending on how much turn-based was involved, they also did Aegis Rem, which I
Yeah,
believe was
that's
also somewhat RTS at least. I don't either that or turn-based.
something like that. Yeah, I feel like this game style very much apes the Ogre Battle style from back in the day.
Definitely.
Just from the liberating the towns and how you recruited people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, at least that's how I felt. And I mean, it was sort of a trick question because I never really played Grimoire. I have it both on PS2 and on Switch. I just haven't gotten to it. And that was more of a cute, from what I understand, it was more of a cutesy side scroll
Yeah.
RTS. But
I'm aware of them by reputation more than gameplay because this was actually my first Vanillaware that I played more than a couple hours.
Mine too, actually.
Oh, so was it all of our first, most of our first?
Like I did buy what was that?
13
Sentinels.
Sentinels.
Yes, I bought that, but I haven't played it yet.
Yeah.
And truth be told, and I said this on our 13 Sentinels backtrack, that game feels more like a visual novel with an RTS segment tacked on. Because even though the RTS segment is fun to play, it's very minimalist versus this one, which is the exact opposite of minimalist, with how detailed it is. I think the only two Vanillaware games I have not played or played all the way through are Grimoire and Musame the Demon Blade.
Muramasa, right?
Muramasa, right.
Yeah.
Muramasa is currently stuck on Vita and Wii, and I just haven't gotten to it. And Grimoire recently got a re-release, but I once again haven't gotten to it. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we will take a brief break with the musical interlude with some of the lovely music from this game, and then we will dive right in. And welcome back to RPG Backtrack, where we're talking about Unicorn Overlord, released on March 8th, 2024 on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and both of the Xboxes. And wow, how time flies, because I did not realize it's already been 2 years since this game came out.
Yeah. Sneaks up on you sometimes. Like I
Yep.
swear it was only yesterday I gave the 5 out of 5 I gave for it for the first time, and now suddenly here I am talking about it 2 years later.
I remember it being announced during a Nintendo Direct.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. It had to have been the January one at about that time, and being like, oh boy, another Vanillaware game. God, that name's kind of an interesting take. 'Cause I don't know about you guys. I'm a My Little Pony fan, so when I see Unicorn, I think, cute cartoon horses, not high fantasy stuff. But according to Wikipedia, this was Vanillaware's biggest project to date. And it was during this September Nintendo Directs, and it's September 2023 when it was announced. And I made a point to pre-order the collector's edition almost immediately because I wanted that card game that came with it because I was curious about it and broke it open, looked at it, and haven't touched it since. Which, that's how most collector's editions go. But yeah, uh, like we were saying in the preamble, very, very much inspired by Ogre Battle.
That was the main reason I didn't end up pre-ordering it at all, but I started looking at trailers a bit closer and I went, this is the closest I'm going to get to an Ogre Battle in 2024. Let me see if it holds up at all.
And see, I had tried to play the Super Nintendo Ogre Battle when I first started figuring out emulation. And because that was kind of an old school strategy RPG, it did not have any sort of tutorial or anything. So I get into the game and have no idea what the heck I'm supposed to be doing, and then put it up instantly and never really went back to it. So the Ogre Battle comparisons kind of scared me a little bit, but I figured, hey, this is a modern game. Obviously, they're going to show you what to do. And I just took to this like fish to water. So now that I understand this, I probably could go back and play Ogre Battle without any sort of tutorial and have a much better time.
With all the comparisons, I do just have to throw out quickly how it never left my mind because the main evil empire in this game is called Zenoira Empire, and it's Zenobia Empire is an Ogre Battle. So I just constantly kept thinking of the same like characters and like, oh, this is the Empire again. Like, but it's not quite the same.
I had the same thing happen, but with the Liberation Army being, I think, a Fire Emblem. Is it Fire Emblem Engage or one of the other Fire Emblems?
Could it have been Three Houses?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, maybe Three Houses. Yeah. So I was like, Liberation Army, this is the wrong game. But yeah.
I was going to ask, did anybody have any experience with the Ogre Battle series before this?
Nope.
I
haven't.
Okay.
No.
I had a lot. I played the Super Nintendo version a bit. I got the limited edition on PlayStation. Didn't end up beating either, but similar to how some of the story beats and characters, I also would include Tactics Ogre as part of the Ogre Battle overarching, just because a lot of the political intrigue and betrayal that's in Unicorn Overlord is synonymous with that type of tactical RPG. So
Now, you didn't finish Ogre Battle, but was that like this, where you were kind of running around on a world map?
yes, the main difference being that in Unicorn Overlord, when you weren't in combat, you were still able to move around, which I thought was incredibly cool. In Ogre Battle, you just had menus, and the only time it showed the world map was for the combat, and you'd have almost little chess pieces that were moving around that represented the leader unit rather than the actual unit itself.
Gotcha. Because I know with this game, when I saw that you were running around on the world map, I thought that was kind of an interesting take because I'd never really seen a game play like that before. And then liberating all the different towns and then having a guard at each town. I became obsessed with that to the point where when I ran out of NPC or playable characters to put at each town and had to pick and choose, it kind of overwhelmed me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other key differences, which of course makes you go, that is very much Vanillaware, of course they would change it like that, is Ogre Battle, when you went into combat, was isometric angle, so you'd kind of see your characters from the back and enemy characters from the front. While in Unicorn Overlord, it's side for both good and the bad side, which means you get to see the front of every interesting character design.
To the point where if you're like me, you almost kind of felt guilty for turning off the battle animations because you wanted to see those beautiful animations play out, but by the 9th or 10th time they play out, it's like, okay, I just want results from my fight.
I kind of didn't do that, and it reflected in my total playtime at the end. So.
I see.
Yeah, I did it on and off too. Like if I was like getting certain items or like minor battles, I did eventually turn it off. But for any even somewhat major battle, I was just like, turn them on. It's like really cool to see.
Yeah, if the battles were repetitive, like just grinding the same types of enemies or something like that, yeah, I think I pressed the skip or the plus button that just it just did the battle
Yeah.
really quickly. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
That's what I did too. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, for major story battles, I made a point to turn it back on for just running around the map randomly liberating towns and stuff.
yeah.
I kept it off. But that was kind of the key hook of this game was an RTS, but with these beautiful animated skirmishes using Vanillaware's hand-drawn artwork and kind of setting up a strategy so that certain units will attack first or certain units will do a buff and whatnot, and literally brought back a version of the Gambit system from Final Fantasy 12, which I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah, like a
And
lot of the prep work comes into like a lot of it comes to before the battle, the prep work, like the characters you put in each unit, where they're in the back or the front.
Hmm.
If they have specific skills or even their equipment can really affect the outcome of the battle. Like it's all like there's no like you can see the prediction and the prediction is pretty much basically always accurate.
mhm.
Yeah.
It was, and that's what I like. Something I personally noticed, I love my numbers way too much, was the until that unit got into a combat again, a 98% hit chance that was a miss would be a miss no matter what. And then another combat would happen and it would reset those scales. So it was just interesting to me how it was like they predetermined the misses as well. Like not just the okay, this is most likely to happen. It was like nope, this was predetermined that when your character runs up to use a spear strike, even though there's a 10% chance they were going to dodge it, they dodged it every time or any time, not every time, because the next time you'd go up and they would hit. So it was like, unless of course you were either against or using a thief, then it just felt like you could never hit them ever.
Yeah, so the game starts out where you can only have units of two, and then slowly as the game progresses and you get more hero points, you can unlock. Is it up to five or six?
No, it's five.
Okay,
There's like the last boss has like six on his team, which is just like you're
Yeah.
cheating. It's not fair.
okay, yeah, and I trying to keep all of my teams balanced was probably the hardest thing about this game for me, trying to make sure that each team had like an equal mix of back row and ranged attacks and support and good like a good blocker on each team and a good offensive fighter on each team. To the point where I think you can have like up to 12 teams at any given time, but I felt like only five of them for me were ever really that useful.
Just because I probably would have used it, I went back and looked at my units for the backtrack here, and I wrote down exactly who I used and what levels they all were. I only had 10 units, so it makes me think that 10 was the max, just because I would have easily grabbed some of the side characters that I wasn't really using and thrown them into a throwaway unit if I could have made two more.
I think it might have been 10 as well when I had a look, but
You're right.
yeah,
Sounds
I'm
about
not
right, yeah.
100% sure.
Yeah, I put everybody on a team that I could, even if I didn't use
Yes.
like certain teams at all. Like
I
you know,
felt
it's a
really
strategy
sad
RPG.
when
It's there's a lot
yeah.
of characters that you don't necessarily use or need to use.
That's what I was about to say. I felt really sad when I had to cut some people out. Like, went through the effort to recruit them and then they just couldn't fit.
Was
There
there
was
permadeath in this game for units?
no.
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 Okay. They just throw a lot at you then.
Yes.
Yes.
And you
'Cause
can even like hire mercenaries if you want to
Yes.
add even more units.
Mhm.
yeah.
Could you name them as well? I forget.
I think
Yes.
the game is
You could-
randomized.
You could select from a list of names, but you couldn't
Ah,
like
right. Okay, that's why.
you couldn't custom name them.
Right.
Yeah, I only ever did that to one Wyvern Knight because the one Wyvern Knight that is like predetermined, I accidentally got her killed, didn't want to restart. So I just ended up recruiting a mercenary one instead. Was nowhere near that. Was never that good.
I did similar where I'm like, oh, I really love this type of class, and then not realize that I'm not going to be able to use one that was actually a named character for a little while. So I ended up getting a nameless version of everything, just other than to have them around in case I needed them, which did happen a few times, like using Griffin Knights to be my leader, just so I can make them run fast, fly quicker on the maps. There was also now I don't remember exactly what it's called, but there's a spot where it shows all the character classes, and you have to buy the nameless ones, I believe, for them to show up as the actual character portraits. And as a result, I have to unlock everything. This was one of the first games I ever tried to do my best 100%. So
I don't think I 100%ed it, but I do think that I tried to get at least the map, everything on the map unlocked. Like including like all the different side quests and all of the different various things that you could find, like witches' huts and gosh, what else?
I guess the mining mini game. Yeah, the treasure maps.
The mining mini game. Yeah,
addicted to that mining mini game.
I was too. Any sort of mini game like that where you're finding treasure stuff, I can't get enough of. And wasn't that how you also got a bunch of ores to upgrade your units too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything just felt useful from that mining mini game. I mean, everything felt useful overall, which is why I liked exploring the world map, because you'd find all these treasure nodes all over the place too. Just you don't get that too often in a tactical game. So the novelty of being able to explore the world map like that was very, very cool.
So getting into the story a little bit, basically the game starts out with evil overlord whose name is escaping me now.
Galerius.
Valerius, taking over your main character's kingdom, and his mentor kind of hiding him away with the unicorn ring, which signifies his heritage, while the queen is kind of holding the guy off and gets killed in action, and the overlord pretty much takes over the continent after that. And then 10 years later, you're basically trying to liberate the different continents so that you can basically reclaim your birthright.
Yeah, it's relatively standard as far as strategy RPG stories. Like the story is actually really interesting, like the history of the land and like the characters' interactions and such. But like the basic premise is pretty common. Empire comes in, overthrows kingdom rallies together to continent to overthrow the empire.
One thing I did appreciate was how unique each of the 5 nations that you liberated were compared to each other. Like you had your elven nation and you had your dragon nation, but then there was also the angel nation and the beast people nation. So all of the units kind of fit the theme of their nation that you could recruit from there. Like you had elven archers and stuff from the elf people, and I fell in love with a lot of the werebeast characters in their nation, and some of the unique aspects of the different nations. Like the werebeast characters have it so that if you're fighting at night, units that you're fighting also turn into werebeasts and are a lot more dangerous. So you kind of had to pay attention to what time of day it was.
And the angels did better during the day too, as I recall.
Yeah. So it was the opposite.
For me, anyway, it was just unfortunate based off of I had grown accustomed to all the characters I loved. So when I made it to the angel area, which for me at least was the final one, I didn't really want to use any of them because I couldn't think of who to bench, which in itself was also something that I enjoyed. I, again, can't recall specifically for the final 2 nations, but I know that you could go through most of the Elven lands before going to I called it the desert, but Dragon area probably is a bit easier to remember.
But Drakenhold is the name of that place.
Yeah.
A lot of the levels that were required for some of the maps were interchangeable. And I remember I would go through one whole kingdom and then move to the next one, but I believe you could go back and forth. And that meant that I kind of felt got left out a bit from the angel kingdom because I went and completed everything with the beast folk, then went over, and it was just slightly higher leveled than all the enemies I was facing, and I was gaining all these new characters. I'm like, do I really want to use them? I have all these cool teams already.
See,
You do get one angel early on.
Yes, I can't
Ochlis.
pronounce her name.
Yeah, I think it's Ochlis. Ochlis. But yeah, you get her early on. So at least I had her in my like permanent group, I guess,
Yeah.
team, if you will. But yeah, the other angels, I kind of stuck them onto units that I ended up not really using.
I'm curious as to what units people decided to bench
I
or couldn't utilize very well.
and unfortunately, I have trouble remembering a lot of the characters'
Yeah, there's a
names
lot
from
of
this
characters.
game.
So I actually wrote a couple, well, not a couple paragraphs, so a couple of units and my explanations for why. Which I could go through a few of them just to jog some people's memory. Like, oh yeah, I remember that character.
Go for it.
One of my first was the fun drunk blacksmith Morden, just because he was slower than the other breakers. So I used the female breakers, and I've had to make room for other characters overall. The other swords master, Jeremy, who's from Drakenhold, was just a very forgettable character, so I didn't want to use him. For Elven Archers, all of them weren't Ridiel, who's one of my favorite characters in the game. So I just benched all of them, so it made the character I liked stand out more. And I
Wait, sorry, you benched all the Elven Archers?
except for Ridiel,
Oh,
because I really liked her as a character. So she was in my main party. While the remainder of them, I'm like, well, I'm already using an Elven Archer, and you're not going to be as cool to me as Ridiel, so I'm just going to bench you. And I didn't end up using any of the Elven Fencers. They just, as a class, felt flimsy and not quite fun.
Yeah, I think I tried using Ithalian looking over.
Yeah,
And I don't know,
Yeah.
at some points I just kind of gave up on him.
yeah. And Amalia, when I talked about the game with a few others after the fact, and it seemed like most people, she was the one that was at the arena. I got
yes.
her when I was at level 28 or 29, so I never used her because she was too high level. By the time I reached level 40, I already had my teams. So I just never used her.
I ended up using her. I made room for her just because I don't know. She's just kind of awesome. She's just massive woman of a unit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Amalia's probably. I wish I utilized her better because I did get her pretty late, and I made room for her as well. And I spent all that time trying to recruit her at the arena and everything. But then I just, didn't. She wasn't really in my final battle. Like I think, I feel like if I was to play the game again, I'd try to use her more because she was really cool.
Yeah, and I really should, if I played the game again, do the same thing, just because I ended up having 3 great nights, and the fourth one I just wasn't using because by that point I'm like, I already have 3, and I'm not benching any of them.
Not to spoil a later roundtable question, but I kind of ended up marrying Amalia.
Oh,
I was
That's
playing
cool.
on the easy, so I got her pretty early, just by cheesing the fight. Well, save scumming really. And I always appreciate a big beautiful woman in any sort of game, just because you don't see them very very often, unless it's a game like this. So I just fell in love with her, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna be my waifu.
And who I married and who my waifu are 2 different people. So
Uh,
uh,
uh, I have a different favorite character, that's for sure. You might be able to guess who it is if you know my habits at all. But yeah.
Did anyone keep or bench? I think was it Selvi,
the druid, I love the druid.
the druid? Yeah. I don't know. I ended up benching Selvi.
I tried using. Yeah, I also I tried using a bunch of them just because they were interesting, but they
Yeah.
never like stuck around. And Sylvie at least was a kind of interesting because she was weirdly aloof, kind of like unintentionally goofy even.
Hmm.
Like she was very
I mean, I
focused on
think
her studies and then to like the detriment of everything else.
I
And
think it
for
was just maybe the slow gameplay, like just the style of the role. I don't know. It just
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
really
it's
work for
purely a
me in this
debuff
game.
class, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So
it can be, for me, it was, you needed to have the right equipment. It was one of the classes that changed the most based on what you'd equip as a weapon for them. And I had
Mm.
fire attribute attached to them. So they were basically just, if you had someone up front that couldn't take damage for whatever reason, Selvi could take the entire enemy party out on their own. Like on my Selvi group, I had Bruno and Travis up front, so I had the Berserker and the Rogue. So either the Berserker was going to heal because you couldn't kill it, or the Rogue's going to dodge everything, allowing Selvi to do all the damage.
Yeah, I think I just didn't utilize it properly either.
Yeah, same here.
But
Although I used Ramona the Owl, who has a
I was
somewhat
going to say Ramona.
more of a buffing class. I found her more useful, even though also
Yes.
they can't actually attack outright.
And Were Owl is the one where I found out after, simply from trying to do the arena PvP, that I definitely didn't use Ramona right, because
Yes, I did.
Were Owl teams just like destroy you in 2 seconds.
Hmm.
I had to shuffle. I remember I had to shuffle Ramona around a few times, and even then, I think by the end, wasn't super comfortable with where I placed her. But she was a cool unit though.
Hmm.
I did end up
And
liking the Fox Girl quite a bit too.
yes,
Oh,
Yeah, Dina, I think is her. I believe her name.
Dina.
let's see, Were
Werefox.
I had her in my party. I just don't know.
She was the high performing, one of my high performing
Dina.
units. Oh, yeah.
And we talk spoilers, so I will mention one of the characters that makes me want to play post game a lot is I always really liked Elgor the Were Rat. The design was so cool for him. So that's a character that you end up getting in your party after the game, where I was like, I will find a spot for Elgor.
Oh, that's why I didn't recognize the character, because I didn't do a lot of post game.
Yeah, I wasn't aware until I looked at I was like refreshing my memory on this game. Like, oh, you could recruit him at post game.
Yeah.
I did some stuff and then kind of gave up when I couldn't beat those phantom Amalias that were scattered around the continent.
I don't remember facing any Phantom Amalias, but there was, when I was going through and looking at the units, as much as I liked the character and the concept, I couldn't remember that we had a werewolf. Like, I saw the character and I was like, wait, I know all the other the were bear, the were lion, the were fox. Like, wait, you actually had a named werewolf?
Yeah,
So,
Govil. He didn't really have
That's his
much of a
name.
role.
just didn't stand out. And
Hmm.
this was a game where a lot of the times people did end up standing out. Like, uh, I thought one of the coolest little subplots that went throughout the game pretty much was the people you could spare. So like the rogue and the archer, they just keep coming back after, and like they actually change a leaf and join you if you spare them.
Yeah,
Gamel and Wolf.
I think there was only one character in the whole game that I ended up not sparing. And I don't even remember the name of the character. I just know that it was one of those characters that was so irrehensible that I was like, nope, I am not sparing you. I have no sympathy for you. You go.
I think I was the same. Was it early-ish in the game, if
It
you
might
remember
have,
that?
yeah, it might have
Yeah,
been.
that's basically. I don't remember the person's name or the specifics, but that is ringing a bell.
I
We all
don't
just did
know
not
if
spare
you
that
can
person.
I don't know if you could spare him or not, but my favorite villain in the game was Ghislaine. I looked the name up to remember. He's the crazy experimenter that tested
Ooh, right, that
plague
guy.
on the entire populations. And then I don't remember if you had to spare him or you had to kill him, but you actually get a bishop, the helper he had, once you prove that he was actually evil to her, and she takes the plague doctor mask off and joins your party.
Right, that with the
Tatiana.
That's her name, yes, Tatiana. And she kind of said she was going to kill Elaine eventually, but if you go through her poor conversations, she decides not to.
Yes. Oh, like everyone who talks to Elaine, and that was one of my only nitpicks about the game, is they all just love him. He becomes, it's a harem of people, because they had to make every character you could marry start falling in love with you. And I'm pretty sure you can marry a guy in this game too, so that meant everyone fell in love with him.
I actually had
Only
one of the
guys,
unit
though.
formations. Oh, sorry?
Only one of the guys, though.
Which guy was it?
What was his name again? It was one of the Tricor. What was his blasted name again?
What class was he?
Was it? Hold on, was it thieves or rogues in this game?
I think it was thieves.
Have-
Travis. That's it. It's Travis.
Is it Travis?
Yes.
Oh, did not know that. Yeah, I was just gonna say, with one of my unit formations I made, I chucked Elaine with all of the girls, well, 3 of the girls. I chucked Elaine with, I think, Scarlet, Unifi, Melisandre, and Hodrick with him up front. That was a good time.
I think I swapped around a few characters and ended up settling with was Elaine and Hodrick the whole time, Scarlet in the back
Yes.
row. My Elven
Yes.
Archer because I just fell in love with Ridiel. If no one remembers who Ridiel was, she's the half human, half
Yeah,
elf.
the half elf. Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah, there's just a really cool little backstory to her, and I was very surprised we only had one Viking in the game. The pirate, I think he's a pirate, but before he becomes advanced, the guy with an axe, Aubin or Albin.
Yeah, I remember him.
Oh, he was
And I was
cool.
like, oh, he's so unique. No one else, like, screw it, I'll throw him in the main character's party because he'll stand out more. Since we bounced around through most of them, one of my favorite characters was Berengaria, the Dark Marquess.
Mm.
Hmm.
Berengaria.
I
Yep.
I'll get into her a little later in the
Yeah,
roundtable.
and yeah, it's just the sheer amount of classes and ways you can change the classes by giving them different equipment too. It was a very approachable tactical game that, and you spent a lot of time trying to min max. You saw the results by looking at the PvP, where it's like I beat the game. I beat the hardest bosses. This will be easy, and I throw my best team in, and it gets knocked out in 2 turns. I'm like, okay, how?
I did not PvP a whole lot, mainly because I just I think I did what you did, Dalendar, where I got into one fight and it was like, okay, these people know how to exploit
Mhm.
the system way too much, and I just never will never be that good.
I
And
think I avoided that.
Yeah.
I've always had the mentality that when you make a game more difficult, it just narrows your choices. So I never wanted to play this game on hard mode and I'll be like, well, I have to use this character because if I don't, I can't win this fight type situation. Give me the ability to have my 10 awesome teams and all of them could succeed. I just can't say enough good things about most aspects of this game. There's outside of how everyone fell in love with Elaine and trying to make, I maxed out everyone's rapport and every other character that matched up with someone that wasn't Elaine had such interesting stories behind it. Like one of the things I was going to make sure I mention at least briefly is Clive and Monica was my favorite love story, and they didn't even get the finish. Like they never got together. It's like, dang it! That's one of the first characters you get. He's a great knight, and he was a knight for a baron, and the baron's helping the Liberation Army, and he sets his daughter up with her Monica, who's also a character you get, and they were engaged to be married, and he ran off to join the Liberation Army, and she held it against him for so long before finding out that, wait, my grandpa, who I love, has been supporting him this whole time. But they just never get to reconnect because they spent too much time going, hey, Elaine wants to sleep with this other person now. Like,
That rings a bell. I think I saw that conversation or that those interactions as well.
Mhm.
There was
Yeah,
another.
I completed all the reports as well. So my memory's a little vague on a lot of them, but that does sound familiar.
Yeah, I liked was it Prim? She had that little romance going with that other person that I can't remember. Holding this thought for a second.
was Prim the one that was with Gilbert? No, not Gilbert, the Hidden Prince.
Yes, the yeah, that prince that was hiding his identity for part of the
Yeah.
story. Yeah, it was
Don't remember
Gilbert, I
his
think.
name.
Yeah.
I only wrote, or I don't remember which one by name. Wasn't Gloucester. Gloucester was the Dark Knight. He was one of the Blanche next, wasn't it?
Want to say was it
Magellan?
No.
what was his name? I want to say
See, no
Con.
one can remember this guy's name, right?
Like I remember what he looks like, and yeah, he was like
Exactly.
this secret prince. His real name was Ludwig. What was his in-game name?
Well, that guy, whoever he was,
Yeah.
I liked
Yeah.
their, I liked their romance because I didn't think I was expecting that. So I was like, oh, this is cute.
Well, Aramis.
Thank you.
Right, Aramis.
I
There
was
we
never
go.
gonna remember that.
I had to look up Ludwig on the Wikipedia page to find it. That was a very cute one too. Wanted to see so many of how these characters evolve aspect of things, like not just romantically, but there was at least a mini arc that every one of them underwent that, to me
Mhm.
anyway, felt deeper than you'd see in a lot of big cast tactical RPGs. and for building the rapport, it was always very easy once I had extra money because those buying food, the food just looked so good every time that I had to like, okay, I'm gonna have to. I actually went through each of the options just to see if there was like, oh, maybe I won't see the fresh bread on the side except for this one.
That is a rather interesting trend in Vanillaware games where they always have this beautifully rendered food.
Didn't know they were known for food porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was in 13 Sentinels. There was some food stuff in Dragon's Crown that you could do.
Oh,
They just are really good at taking photos of food.
and after the mention of it being in Dragon's Crown as well, well, if they had porn of every other type, why not include food?
Yeah, the character designs weren't nearly as cheesecake in this one as they were in Dragon's Crown,
No.
and I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah, same. Another thing that I noticed just from looking at my review is of underrated comedy moments in this game. There's one I've used as one of my screenshots, and it makes me smile every time I read it. That involves a recurring bad guy named Beaumont. He has a little mini mustache. He was a Legionnaire, and he would just show up and be like, "I gotta run away," and then you'd beat
I
him
remember
again. You're
that.
like,
Oh, that guy.
and the quote that I took from it was, "It's all over, lad. I'll be tarred, feathered, and paraded through the streets like a mustachioed chicken for this." Well, like, he calls himself a mustachioed chicken. That's great. And then wondered if I'd see a were chicken later. But that's besides the point because there's so many were characters in this. Even though they didn't end up being overly memorable, I also liked the variety of ways you'd get into combats. It wasn't just liberation. You would have the druid would tell you you have to fight these phantoms to unlock an area. You'd go into enemy spot and you'd be chased down by rogues and other units that you'd have one-on-one fights with that you'd get gold if you defeated them. When you would unlock a new area and you'd find a new class for the first time, you had to defeat a mercenary version of that group so you can then buy more mages or griffin knights or whatever it happened to be. And it was just the pacing on this felt so natural that it was every time you went to a new area, there was just enough of everything new that it didn't feel repetitive, which then led you to the next main story point. And then when you reach that story point, it would branch out to this whole new area again.
I remember this is one of the first strategy RPGs where I felt like I really had to think about stuff as far as my unit placement and things like that. Like some fights having to restart because I got a little too overzealous, and then some flighted units got a hold of my base and caused me a game over. So I always had to make a point to, even if they weren't that powerful, to kind of leave some people hanging around my base while I was out on the offensive, just so that I wouldn't get my ass handed to me, as it were.
Yeah, I kept that habit too. Just make sure at least one unit was near the base.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, if the map has a ballista, go as soon as possible, going for that freaking ballista, because
Yes.
if not, they were gonna get to you, and those things can get hit from like half a screen away and make you definitely have a bad time.
Well, I'm a little curious because everyone else mentioned that they hadn't really played Ogre Battle, so I felt like I already had a leg up in this way. How many times did you guys get caught by surprise units near your main base because you didn't leave someone to protect it?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah,
I think
early
earlier
on,
and then
yeah.
and then I was like, okay, this is reminding me of like ambushes in like I don't know Fire Emblem or something. So I've just got to be
Yeah.
aware. But I think the game did. I can't remember what difficulty I played on. I wanted to say it's probably the middle difficulty. But I do remember the game did sort of hint or tell you when you're about to be when your main base was about to be attacked. And they gave you a lot of items to try to save or turn the game around to, or turn the map around to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that did help a lot.
Was there either I had a lot of the one item, or there was a specific of you could use it repeatedly to get double experience for one unit in a battle or something like that. And it just get to a point where I'm like, okay, I have one of my characters is like level 38, or one of my units, while the other ones are level 40. So I'm just going to use this level 38 unit and take out as many things as I can to get it up to the proper level. And I know that you could use an item for it, but it wasn't an item. There was the map abilities you could use involving the leaders, and when your protagonist becomes a High Lord, I think he can do that.
Is it like like a rallying type of ability or
Yes,
something else?
Yeah.
you rally and it'll get like double experience for the next
Yeah.
however
Yeah.
much of in-game time.
Yeah, I do believe there were also items outside of battle that you could use to bring up lower level characters.
Yeah, there was like some kind of book, I think, and even like an apple or some kind of food that would automatically
Yes.
grant a
Apples are
not like
OP.
tavern food, but like an item that was some I
Hmm.
think an apple that would grant you one level, like a rare candy, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was something that I utilized a lot just to keep all of my units at pretty much the same level,
Hmm.
just so that nobody would get too far behind.
Yeah, like there was a
Uh,
particular like some kind of extra mission on the map that I would grind to get like particular books that gave
That's
out a lot
right.
of experience.
Yeah.
Like spent a lot of time there
Rings a bell.
to
Yeah.
balance out my teams.
The phantom spots that Selvi would find as the druid there were repeated locations you can go to. That's right.
Mhm.
and yeah, I also became particularly obsessed with leveling up all of the towns and settlements.
Mhm.
Yes, I love that.
To the point where I would actually have to like be like, okay, I have to go over here to get these items to be able to level up this settlement so that I can get access to better items and stuff like that, and then had to grind a little bit for the money to be able to afford buying new gear for my entire team.
For me, I never ran out of money trying to do that kind of stuff. I always would run out of some of the more rare commodity like resources you needed to build the towns,
Hmm.
where it's like you could only find like I think one of the main ones was Drakenhold had these lizards that you could, but it was only in one spot near the water. And there's like one port in the entire nation, so you have to
Hmm.
go there. Like if you wanted 20 of these lizards, you'd have to go there.
Right.
Like it would take 6 months in game just for you to get it. Like no, I want to fight. I want to do something, and then I would never remember to go back and get these things. Each of the once you built them up, each of the towns had the ability to trade for gold. So if you had enough gold and you got lucky, you could just buy some of the resources you needed for additional upgrades, and made it fun anyway. And I'm typically not someone that likes base building even to that kind of extent. So
Yeah, to your point there, I think I remember feeling like it wasn't a chore, like it was actually a lot of fun and I just felt really motivated to do it. It felt really rewarding. Whereas I know, yeah, sometimes with this sort of like base building type of games or elements in a game, it can feel very tedious after a while, or like really repetitive and just be a bit too grindy. But this was, I think it was a good, yeah, it's a good balance.
mhm.
I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, to me, it didn't even really feel like base building as much as it just felt like making the world feel more alive and
Mm.
more like
Yeah.
as you're liberating, you're opening channels of trade and basically making the world kind of suck less for its citizens.
Mhm.
Yeah, felt good.
Yeah.
And see, it felt good, but in my mind, just because how much I love story in general, not to mention the story in this game, was I have to do this side liberating area so I can unlock it so I can do that rapport. Because if you didn't control the area, you couldn't have your characters talk.
Hmm.
So it's just I have to take over everywhere, make sure everything's unlocked.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So everyone could be friends and talk already.
I remember it being late at night and I was just, just one more area, just one more.
Yes.
Because they were pretty, some of them were pretty quick. So I was like, I'll just do this one and then this one's next to it. So I'll also do this one. And then it's like 2 a.m. On a work night.
of course.
Hmm.
And I always liked there's no way I'll be able to name any of the characters, but I've always enjoyed how they gave a few lines to the nameless enemies. A lot of the times you go to liberate an area, there was some kind of plot behind it. It wasn't
Yeah.
just, oh look, this guy's a bandit, let's get him. And when we're thinking of all the resources we need to build stuff, I never needed to run out, or I never ran out of the stone because the mining mini game existed. And you see, I had to spend all my money doing that.
Yeah, I spent quite a lot of time there too. I was particularly obsessed with the treasure maps.
Yes.
Yep.
You
Me sitting there,
yearning for the mines.
yeah, me sitting there staring at them, be like, damn it, I know where this is. I just can't get there yet.
Yeah. It took me a while to figure out some of those. I think I even eventually used the internet for some of the more
Yeah.
difficult ones.
Hmm.
I wouldn't surprise me if I had to as well, because after 10, 15 minutes of I swear I'm standing on this exact spot,
Yeah.
just to find out you actually had to go around like a mini cave or something like that just to get to
Yeah.
it. Like, okay.
Yeah, and many of those spots you couldn't really get to until you had done much more of the story and liberated some stuff
Mhm.
like I don't know if you guys ran into those units that would you'd enter a new area and they'd chase you down
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
because I think it was if you weren't leveled enough or something like that.
I think
Yeah.
something
I
like
mean,
that.
unless you out leveled them by a lot, if I recall correctly, they'd still chase you. And then you had to, before entering the area, kind of rotate. Or no, they would hit you, and then you could rotate and see if you would win the fight. But unless you
Hmm.
completely wiped it out, they would just be stunned and then chase you again at full health.
Mhm.
Not to mention how many other areas had consisted of blockades
Hmm.
that wouldn't let you in until certain story aspects were complete.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I have a side quest that I need to do, and it's just over there.
Mhm.
Just let me in.
Yeah.
I did like how a lot of the time the barricades, not all of it, but sometimes at least, would be okay, you want to get over there that way? Just win this fight. It's level 40. You're like, I'm level 5. Do it or go around.
Yeah, I definitely think the game wanted you to do what I wasn't doing, which was go to different continents and do the story a little bit instead of trying to complete the entire story in a continent in one go, like I was attempting to do. But that's just how am with games. I feel like if I jump around, then I get too much gamer ADD and never want to go back to places that I had been to before unless I complete them completely, if that makes any sense.
Definitely does. And for me, it was kind of like starting 4 books at once. Like, why would I do that and read a chapter of each when no, I'm
Mhm.
going to read the one book, then I'm going to move to the sequel,
Yeah.
then the
Mhm.
next one,
Mhm.
then the next one.
Like that feeling of like just completion before
Just
moving
do it in
on.
order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So, I,
sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. The beginning of the game kind of gave you the choice between the desert area or the elf area.
yeah.
Yes, I think
Mhm.
so.
I just
They're
had
basically the same at the same level. I jumped into the Elven area to get a few characters, luckily, because I really enjoyed those early Elven characters. Then ended up doing the whole desert side.
because that's what I ended up doing as well. I'm curious how many people start out with the desert
We
slash
started with the
dry
desert
area.
area first. I don't
Yeah,
even
you
remember
did.
why exactly. It was just like, okay, well, I'll just start here. Why not?
I think
Went to the
I
elf area.
have, yeah, I think the same. I think I started with the desert, and then later on, I think I might have read something online that said it was probably easier to go to the Elven area first, and I was like, damn it. I don't like sand to begin with, so I don't know why I chose that path. But what's done is done.
At least for me, I might be misremembering a little bit. Other than I wanted to go experience like the first Elven characters were interesting. The desert side was where I wanted to go overall because that's where your cousin was. And I have to look up her name again. She's a
Virginia?
Valkyrie, Virginia. And
Oh, the
Virginia
wait,
is
Valkyrie?
Yeah,
Cassandra?
it was Virginia. So Virginia's you get her towards before you even go into the area, like the desert area itself, and she talks about how like she's running away, and it was just a much more engaging. Like, okay, this is why I want to go here. While the Elven side was, no one's been able to get into the Elven side, so when you make it over there, they go, rah rah, we don't like you. Like that seems pretty basic. And Virginia's on the run from enemies and has only one person to protect her. And what happened to the king of the area, the princes, and it's just every step of the way. I'm like, I want to know what happens next.
I wonder
And
if
just
that's why I went desert actually, because that rings a bell. Do you like Virginia?
and one of the first characters you like just some of the classes you get because we play enough fantasy games, we play RPGs, we all play lots of RPGs, so when you see an elf you're like neat, but you see in this, especially in this art style, a dark knight, the dark marquesses. One of my other favorite characters was the shield shooter, like a frontline archer, and I'm like, what, this is cool.
Liza?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it just felt like there was more interesting characters, which in a way is kind of how the last two areas work as well, because you have the wear classes and just a bunch of things that are, look at me, I'm a fighter with wings. Like that's all the angels were. So they felt like one cool area and one, that's okay area. But the elven, like as much as I say that, the story for both the elven and angel areas were engaging too. It just had a slower start to them. At least I found anyway.
One thing I forgot to ask at the beginning of the show, which system did we all play this on? Were we all Switch?
No, not
I
for
played
me.
on
Yes.
Switch.
PS5.
PS5.
Switch.
So you were the only PS5?
Mm.
Was
Which
sorry.
Mm.
Oh no, was that because that just happened to be the code that you
that
got?
was part of it. There was also the like I'm luckily blessed in that I have a rather big 63-inch TV. So
Mhm.
seeing these sprites and it taking up like they're almost the size of me, it feels like, while being that great of an art style. I never play my Switch in anything but handheld, so I'm not sure I would have lost anything, like if I even would have noticed, but just the presentational aspects I really enjoyed felt enhanced on the PS5. It was still relatively early in having the console, I believe, too, so just instantaneous load times between everything, and it was like, okay, this is just nonstop, something I want to do, made that pacing that I mentioned earlier feel so much more engaging, because it's like, okay, I beat this liberation area and 2 seconds later I'm moving again. Now I'm doing this. Now I can mine. Now I can do that again. And I haven't mined in 4 hours. Oh, there's a new mining spot. Like it just kept moving forward at such a pace that I could also see being just as engaging on the Switch, because the joy of having it be handheld is you could put it down quite easily, I would think, as well. So, did you ever find playing it on the Switch that there would be moments where it's like, okay, put it down for a couple of days, came back, and it felt like I never left?
I mean, that was one thing is that part of the reason why my memory's kind of hazy about this game is because I did play it very sporadically because I played it on the
Mm.
Switch. It was mostly like it would be my bedtime game for the longest time, and then once I got to the critical path, I was playing it more and more, and I think I remember bringing it on vacation with me and playing it in my hotel room
Mm.
that year. And I'm pretty sure that was where I finished the game.
I have a tactical RPG that just popped into my mind where I have this exact same story where I played it mostly on vacation while inside a hotel room, and I can't remember really anything about it anymore. That's Devil Survivor.
First game, I assume.
Yes, it was the first one on DS. There's just so much about Unicorn Overlord that, like, looking back on it, just every moment makes me smile. Like, we've talked about so many different unique units and still haven't mentioned the Elven Queen's sisters. Both of them were very entertaining to use. The sorceress, we have
Mhm.
the warlock. And they all had their own unique animations, and depending on where you place them, they would do different types of attacks. So sometimes I would sometimes feel obligated to attempt putting some of these characters in the front row when they're back row characters, just to see, like, okay, let me see once what it looks like for the warlock to just walk up and smash something with a stick.
Maybe that can be in your second playthrough.
It was one or two fights. It's easy
Yeah.
enough to do. You go to an early enough place, but yeah, I'm sure I could. This is a game where it wouldn't take much to say play it through a second time, and then while I'm playing it, people would tell me, "Why aren't you playing 13 Sentinels?" I'm like, "But this one." And I dug through some of the soundtrack again, and there's just so many songs that jump out to me again too. Where as soon as I start listening to it, I'm like, I remember this exactly. I just even like fighting off the enemy commanders, so just the fighting bosses, and just every time, just the triumphant orchestra that pipes in, liveliness at the dining table, where you just inside the inn and your characters chatting, and then you eat the delicious looking food at the end of the game, where credits are just about to start rolling, and you have one of the first vocal tracks with "So We Sing," and that made me tear up a little bit. And this was one of the first games where I had to make sure I looked into, when I did the review, how to properly describe why what I'm hearing isn't just routine type music. And I'm not sure how much I really actually got across, but like orchestral battle music pounding in like a climax of a season-ending TV television show that has players on the edge of their seat throughout. And when I read that again, listen to the songs themselves and just go, yep, that is entirely true to how I feel about the songs. And after years of just going, I like how that one sounds because it makes the noises. It's to have a new way of being able to communicate, open up, because of how good the overall presentation was. It's just a treat in itself. Yeah, just one of, I'm not sure how much anyone remembers unless they looked up their characters beforehand, but you'd get items that would give you additional attack points and like protect points. I'm not sure if those were the actual names, but it was AP and PP. And it was for the attacking side and back row defensive or guarding side. Was there any characters that you can recall maxing out 4 and 4 for them? Because you'd start off with 2 and 2, and then you'd be able to give these additional points and max out, like, instead of just doing one heavy smash for your characters, they could do 4 in a combat.
I don't think I used any of that stuff.
I definitely used at least something that added like 1 point, but I don't think I've ever managed to max out like all 4 for either side.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
I would have been able to, except I like too many of a variety of characters. So the closest I got was Elena had 3 for attack and 4 for the defense side, and just made that unit a bit more overpowered. Just because he's supposed to be a strong character in the first place, and I kept all the early game units with him. So my Elaine unit wasn't quite as overpowered as most people's were.
See, my Elaine unit ended up being my strongest unit.
Really?
Yeah, I honestly don't know why. I think it's just because he was required for every fight, so he ended up getting used the most.
I feel like my lane unit was underpowered, and I couldn't work out why, but maybe using those items would have helped me. But I had everyone else, kind of carry him, so it wasn't too bad.
My lane turned out pretty well. Not sure, maybe I feel like it's either Amalia or Berengaria might have been my strongest, but pretty up there. Yana was pretty strong too.
Yeah.
I definitely split my favorite units amongst multiple groups just because I didn't want to fall into and I typically don't fall into the trap of I only use 1 or 2. I always wanted to experience as much as I could, so I tried making every unit useful or used in certain situations. Like I had because like for example, the main character's best friend Lex is a Vanguard, which he has a really good defensive ability if you let him be the leader. So I would have him as a leader for a bit and then be able to throw him up as a vanguard. I would have a couple units that I would just place like off the beaten path. So when, reinforcements came, they'd be able to, like, that's usually where I'd put my flying units. Where, like, okay, cleared this area, let me send this flying unit this way, because it was easier to search for treasure and make sure when, like, there's actually 2 or 3 units hiding in the forest here, they'd be able to gain some experience and actually not just be used as scouts. They'd be able to back that up with the ability to fight as well. And just to have like a unit for every type of situation, which became useful with the ability to, like we discussed earlier, predict who would win what fight. So as the game got longer, you'd have moments where an enemy unit might be able to like take out my Elaine unit, because of the one I mentioned was Viking High Lord and Legionnaire up front, and outside of Elaine, the other 2 can be wrecked by magic. So I'd have to have a anti-magic squad, so to speak, that was with him to counterbalance how quickly Elaine's unit would die against magic. And at least for me, I'm a very much tactical. I like my numbers, like my strategies. So having all these characters, it's 10 units, 5 per unit. That's 50 characters, and that isn't even all the named characters in the game.
One thing I just remembered, as you were talking about, your unit formations was, did anyone also lean on the supporting magic and archer, like the supporting units nearby when the main unit was attacking and things like that, like covering the area with like the archers, or just adding extra damage or healing? Because I feel like that was I really enjoyed that about this game.
100%, because there'd be moments where I would have characters that would get a little bit too high leveled, so then I would use them as the backup units and send my weaker ones forward. Be like, well, they can't really survive this, but as long as they all have health left, the support would just take them out.
Yeah.
I always tried to make a point to have at least a magic user or an archer in each of my little squads, just so that I would be able to cover pretty much all the bases.
Yeah, or like setting the archers and like positioning them in like the towers and things, getting them ready so they've got more range and things like that. Yeah, I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, towers were usually the first thing I would go for. In any sort of map, not only to get those things, have them not be available to the enemy, but so that I could have a lot more coverage. Did anybody make use of the magic altars in a lot of the stages that let you cast one huge spell, like Thunderstorm?
Yeah,
they were fun.
Yeah, I had the problem
someone
sometimes of I would get to those spots, and while I'm trying to reach it, all the enemies would come and attack me. So I'd be like, awesome, now I can use the spell, and like there's nothing here anymore.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bummer. No, it's okay. That was a bit of a bummer that by the time you could get to some of those really cool spots, that you were pretty much done with the level.
And hopping into the story side, just a couple things that popped into my head. Baltro was a very interesting villain, I found. I kind of had the feeling almost from the beginning that he was the magic user, the brains behind it all. And related to that, a lot of the liberation, like side quest type stuff, the villains felt more fleshed out than, if even anyone remembers this, at the very end, Galerius is like, haha, now I'm undefeatable, or like no one could ever defeat me. Let me resurrect my 4 friends from back then. And they're just like the most generic units ever.
Yeah.
Like I've destroyed entire continents. Like, you're a nameless, faceless, just like regular unit.
Yeah, but at least the backstory is a bit interesting, because as it turns, like at first a bunch of units are seemingly working for the Zenora Empire. They seem to be brainwashed, but and then you need the Ring of the Unicorn to undo the brainwashing. But much later, you find out it's not technically brainwashing. Baltro is able to bring back the souls of the people from the ancient Zenora Empire and implant them into people, so they're being possessed. And Galerius was apparently a guy named Valhome, I believe, or Valtome. It was a general of
Valmore?
the nation.
Val something.
Valmore, okay, yes, one of those. But no,
Mm.
he was possessed by the soul of the old emperor,
Mhm.
Galerius. And when you beat Galerius during the final fight, it's not even Valtome anymore. It's Elaine's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you get the good ending, she can survive that, and then you take on Baltro as the true final boss.
Did anyone get tripped up by not getting the good ending at first?
Honestly can't remember which ending I got now.
I'm fairly sure I got the normal ending, so I
I'm fairly
didn't
sure I
purify
did
his
too.
soul.
Yeah, I got the good
I was
ending.
like, I'm done with this
Yeah.
guy. I'm just gonna, screw him.
Yeah.
Um,
Because they give you an option to like, do you use your ring, which is fully formed and like powerful, to save him or kill him? And if you don't fully form the ring and pick some choices correctly, it doesn't give you the option, so you just automatically get the normal ending. And if you decide to kill him, that's when you find out you're like, I murdered my mother.
Yeah, I did watch that part right after I picked. I think I did fulfill the other conditions, but then I just didn't purify him. And then I chose
Mm.
to, I think, kill him or something like that on the spot. And then, yeah, saw my mother die and was like, oh, is this the bad ending? Like, did I just screw up the game? Do I
There's
have to do this
apparently a
again?
worse ending that's
There is a
Yeah.
weirdly
worse
hard to
ending,
get.
yeah.
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 But that felt
Elaine
pretty
actually
bad at the
gets killed.
time.
Like the game is over and Galerius takes over the world because Elaine
Hmm.
just like dies.
Yeah, he possesses Elaine's body, basically. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
so what did you have to do to get the best ending?
Now,
You
So,
had
yeah,
to go to all of the six like sanctuaries or shrines, I believe.
yeah.
yeah.
And then when you're in that final battle, you had to purify Galerius' soul. Like choose that
Okay.
option. Yeah.
Now I don't
Not too
remember if it's
many,
just
but
additional conversation or not. Because even though we're going to talk probably more about the marriage aspect and of the round table while we're discussing this aspect, I thought if you married the wrong person, like air quotes on the wrong aspect, couldn't get the good ending because it had to be a certain situation. Like I tend to pick when I play through games like that the who does Elaine love rather than who do I love. So I happen to have him marry Scarlet, which made sense from a plot standpoint. I just don't know how much that actually mattered to the actual ending because I do know, and it's something that people have definitely done online, is you'll have the person you marry jump in to help you in the cutscene after beating Galerius, and what lines they say will be different depending on which
true.
wife you have.
Mm.
I just don't remember how much it actually affects
Just ends, and
the.
I think you get a slightly different epilogue during like the "Where Are They Now" segment too.
Okay,
That too,
yeah.
yeah. That's a good point.
So
Just
was there anything else we wanted to get into before we did the round table?
Nothing
uh,
comes to mind.
Um,
since I don't come from the Fire Emblem background, you guys mentioned Joseph a couple of times. It was
Hmm.
interesting to me that probably a lot more expected from you guys that once he reached a slightly higher level, he was the only character to lose attributes.
I'm not sure because to be honest, I really didn't pay attention to a lot of the stats,
Mm.
as far as raw numbers. Um, I just know that's something that happens in pretty much every Fire Emblem game is you always have one unit at the
Yeah.
beginning that's promoted that you want to kind of lean on because they're significantly more powerful than your other
Yep.
units.
Mhm.
But because of that, they're taking away, if you use them, they're taking away EXP that could really needs to go to the less strong units.
Hmm.
Yeah, Joseph can
I
remain useful though, as the old style Jagans and Fire Emblems would eventually like
They
taper
fall
off pretty
off.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because unlike Fire Emblem in this game, you can actually grind.
Right, right.
yeah.
Whereas
And,
Fire Emblem has a lot of mostly fixed battles until
Mhm.
recently. But
Yeah, you had to go out of your way to grind the more
mhm.
recent Fire
and
Emblem games, I think, as well. Like separate maps and whatnot.
Mhm.
another big difference this time I had to double check is Joseph is the only paladin too. The other horse units become Great Knights.
Yeah.
What was he? Oh.
So he's still a unique class that even though he was at the beginning, there isn't really anyone to usurp him exactly. So I kept him around just to see the unique
Yeah.
animations from the attacks that he got at higher levels.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
kept him around as well, and I think, yeah, to your point, he definitely didn't feel as, I guess, strong later on when everyone else felt sort of stronger. But I kept him as well.
I
I
kept him too.
he
He
was a
never
healer
really
for me, so
he never really tapered off.
I used him at the beginning to level up. He was always paired with the weak units. Like, oh, I got this character. They're level 5. Everyone else is level 10. Like, Joseph, drag this level 5 with you.
I think a part of me also thought maybe down the line he might pass away. And I think, yeah, I was relieved when that didn't happen. I was like, I don't want to rely on him too much just in case. But no, that didn't happen, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as pricing goes, this is still $60 on all of the online stores, but
Is it
um,
really?
according to Deku Deals, it was as low as at least 20 on the eShop during the holidays. And Amazon is selling the physical cart, at least the Switch cart for 30. So, I mean, you can get this for pretty cheap. There was I was kind of amused that the collector's edition that I bought, one the cheapest you can find the collector's edition online is about 100, but that's for the Xbox version, which t tells you a lot about which version of the game, which console was the least popular SKU, given
Yeah.
that those ones are the most available. But also I found it interesting that the card game that came with the collector's edition sells on its own for like 60.
Hmm.
Wow.
I'm
Amazing.
I'm surprised that Atlas slash Sega didn't just like make the card game its own thing on their shop. And I personally can't really say anything about the card game because like I said, I looked at it and then kind of put it away. Though I've heard that it's an interesting little game. That people that reviewed the game at the time said that it's as fun to play as the game itself.
That's interesting. Maybe we should give it a go. Is it 1v1 or
I am not sure. Um, like I said, I like with a lot of collector's editions, I looked at it and it's like, oh cool, and then I put it on the shelf. Um,
I had to get a code.
and that was the thing. I mean, it was the card game that kind of
Yeah.
motivated me to get the collector's edition, but also because there was a code to make your emblem other Vanillaware characters, and
Oh.
one of the characters that you could have on your emblem was Fluffy from or 13 Sentinels, who is
Mm-hmm.
a tuxedo cat. And as
Oh, that's
somebody
cool.
who is in love with tuxedo cats, I was like, yeah, I've got to get this EE just for that. And
Yeah.
that was my emblem the whole game because Fluffy was my favorite character in Aegis Rim. A character that I cannot talk about at all to people who have not played 13 Sentinels. But um, if you own a tuxedo cat, the personality tracks. I can say that.
I'll
But
take your word for it.
yeah, tuxies are known for being very bossy.
Mm.
Obviously, it's not true. Color doesn't dictate personality, but that's the stereotype, like how orange cats are goofy and stupid.
Love the cat stereotypes.
But yeah, I think we're ready for the roundtable, unless we have anything else we wanted to bring up.
One quick
Okay.
thing, just for we mentioned all of the prices and consoles. The reason we're saying console only is Vanillaware's allergy to PC is still continuing. They're not on Steam.
Yeah, I was genuinely surprised because Atlas and Sega is usually pretty good about doing PC stuff these days. Like, am I wrong? Isn't Metaphor on PC or?
Yep, I
Yeah.
believe so. Something specific, I don't know anything more than rumor or just hearsay, but something about Vanillaware, they don't do PC.
Maybe they just don't have the staff to port.
I think they're a relatively small team, so that could be it.
But yeah, if you have a console, I can't recommend this game enough. It's a treat to look at. It's a throwback to old school Ogre Battle, and overall, it's just a fun little strategy RPG with a little bit of RTS thrown in there for some funsies. I'm hard pressed to think of any reason not to recommend it to people other than if you don't like strategy games.
And even then, this as someone who's played a lot of them, I can't think of a better example of I want to try tactical, but I find them overwhelming, scary, or otherwise not sure if I would enjoy it. This game can help bridge the worries. Like if you play this and go, I don't like this, you might not like tactical games, period, then, and that's fine too. It's just, this is the one where if you're going to jump in, try it.
And I have to admit, when I saw that the combat was very Ogre Battle, I was kind of like, man, I'm not sure, because I couldn't get into Ogre Battle. But luckily, the game does a really good job of teaching you the systems that by the time you would feel overwhelmed, you kind of can dive in. So there's that.
And
what
multiple
was...
difficulties. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So the multiple difficulties also make it easier. So if like the systems were a little too complicated, you could just play it in the lowest setting and get through it.
Yeah, because I pretty much did auto equip and auto gambit the entire game. I didn't hand tweak anything, mainly because I just couldn't really think that hard about it. Otherwise, I would overthink it and probably have a miserable time. What I was going to ask Delendar, what was the one negative comment you heard about this game? We were saying before the show.
That they weren't sure if this game could be a 5 out of 5 because they don't like how it looked.
Which just seemed like an odd statement to make, given that Vanillaware has some of the most stunning visuals on a console game I've ever seen. I don't know, maybe they were too tainted by Dragon's Crown and its visuals.
Yeah. And while it is a lot more tame, there is still a 300-year-old witch that only wears a bra. So
yeah.
Managed to avoid talking about her quite a bit, actually.
She's pretty cool in battle.
Yeah. I kept her around.
She's an entertaining character to use, but doesn't change, like, because a lot of the generic units are basically just less visually changed. Like, there's more character portrait for the character units, and they have their own unique face, hair, and color. But all the other witches still exist. So you end up fighting hundreds of them that aren't 300 years old too.
I mean, to be pedantic, she's apparently 88, at least according to an art book.
I couldn't remember the exact. I just knew that they walk around being like, oh, everyone's so much younger than me. And then, of course, you have rapport with her and Elena. It's just like, really, why? And then you start playing Game of Thrones music as you have him start talking to his cousin. And it's just those.
Relatively common for, noble families and royalty.
True, this is true.
And on that note, let's take a brief musical interlude, and then we will jump into the roundtable. And welcome back to RPG Backtrack, where we are now going to get into the roundtable, our thoughts, our feelings, our favorites, our memories. That being said, did anybody have a favorite and or funniest moment from the game?
So mine's relatively minor, but it stuck with me this whole time. So we mentioned Ramona, the were owl. There's one report conversation she has with a Griffin Knight, Fran. Fran's giving her Griffin a dust bath, and then she mentions how much her Griffin likes dust baths, and then Ramon's just going, huh, a dust bath. Why does that sound so intriguing? And then she apparently starts to take off her clothes, but then Fran comes back in and goes, "What are you doing?" She goes, nothing, nothing. I just thought it was funny. Just like, do owls even take dust baths? I don't know.
It honestly wouldn't surprise me if they did. Mine, and this is a spoiler moment, but mine ended up being finding out Morad's memories. The were-lion character, and that
Yes.
were-lions apparently in the Beast Kingdom are somewhat rare because they are considered royalty, and the evil empire pretty much tried to wipe them all out. And you find out that Morad was a soldier in the evil empire's army that was trying to wipe out all the were-lions, and he got defeated and ended up waking up as a were-lion. And I just thought that was kind of a unique touch for that character, especially since finding out that, basically the Empire wanted to destroy all of them because they're considered to be the most powerful of all the werebeasts in that country.
Ironic fate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently after the end of the game, he's crowned the King of Bastorius.
As he should.
Yeah.
And interestingly, like one of his companions is Unifi, who's an archer.
Yes.
She's human, but she was like the same item, that this gem called the Bastorius Blue. It turned him into the were-lion and turned her, as she was a were-lion, into a human.
Huh.
That was kind of a fun reversal.
Yeah.
That's apparently where the werebeasts came from. The gem turns people into were-animals.
Yeah, probably to survive that environment because their area is all icy and snowy.
Yeah, I think they were basically escaping the Zenoran Empire, and thus, in order to adjust to it, they turned into animals. Or animal people.
Yeah, and snow areas tend to be my favorite areas in games anyway because I like snow and ice and would be happy in a place like Alaska, but that's just me.
No, I agree. I think I'm the same.
What was your favorite moment, Elena?
That was actually one of my favorite moments. I loved meeting the elves as well. An out of game favorite or funny moment, I guess, is so I'll be talking about this. So I didn't know anyone that played this game at the time that I was playing it. I went into it blind. I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it. So I would talk about games with my friends every now and then, and I was hyping this one up because I'd played, I don't know, say 20 hours at this point or something along those lines, and I loved it. And so I would be telling my friends all about it. I'd hype it up, and then they'd ask me what it's called because they're like, cool, so what's the game called? And every time I would mumble Unicorn Overlord. And then they would just raise their eyebrows and be like, that's an interesting name. And I feel like at that point I just lost them. And I'm like, no, but you got to give it a try. It's really, really good. And then every time it's on sale, I'd send it to them. I'd be like, oh, look what's on sale, even though I had the game already. So that was just, something that sort of stuck with me about the game. As well as the were people, or the were creatures as well.
I will admit it doesn't have quite the dumb name like Triangle Strategy or
Yes.
stuff like that I'm... Well, not even Triangle Strategy, just some of those games that you're kind of embarrassed to say the name of. Like I know that there was one that I was asking a GameStop employee for, and it's called What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord? It's like a little ant farm kind of RPG simulator thing.
Oh.
But I'd say the name of the game and they just kind of look at me like, what? Or Legend of Legacy is another one that I just found myself like, God, I don't want to ask this guy the name of if they have the copy of this game because it sounds so stupid. But I honestly don't know what else they could have called this.
The title really grew on me, and I honestly, I think, I agree. It's not that bad. I think it just, when you first hear it, you're like, oh, what is this game? It just sounds a bit, interesting.
It's not two words you think would go together.
No.
Unicorn and Overlord.
Not a single unicorn in the game.
Nope.
And see, we come from, as you mentioned, a subgenre of RPG that has triangle strategy. You
Mhm.
have recent Game of the Year, like if you play video games, Game of the Year award nominee Metaphor ReFantazio. Like, how's that not a sillier people?
Mhm.
Like, oh, you see, I'm going to look down at Unicorn Overlord and go back to playing Fortnite. Like, sure, like, and it's nothing against any of the games, but like even the most popular games in any genre have some silly names.
No, you're right. Like I said, I don't think this game is the worst offender. It does not sound like a strategy RPG. It sounds like a
Yes.
My Little Pony game.
Yeah.
Uh, Ryan M, did you have any favorite moments?
I've mentioned one of the big ones already, so instead I was going to bring up one of a minor moment I hadn't really talked about. That's I have all these characters that are being, as we find out, I mentioned possessed, and you go to this main hub, and the person who's in charge there is Morden, this just really old, fun, drunk blacksmith, and
Hmm.
he's of course also possessed at this point, and you have to get it out of him. And while he was possessed, you know what he did? He drank beer. You know what he did when he was not drunk? And you're like, oh, thank you for saving me. Now I can drink beer. Like, you did not change at all, sir. He's like, nope. You got possessed by a drunk, and I guess both of them were happy.
Yeah.
Like, it was a symbiotic relationship compared to the rest of them.
That's how you can tell when you have a one-track mind when you get possessed and you stay exactly the same.
Well, the only difference was I think they tricked him instead of going around to like keep collecting and drinking with friends, because that's one thing that all of his rapport would do is be like, I want to share alcohol, or why have people stealing my alcohol? And it was all about that stuff. When he was possessed, it was, I'm going to build this blockade around us so no one could come take my alcohol.
He was a
It's like,
character. I actually
Mhm.
liked him. Mm.
And other Ryan, did you have any?
I
not
don't even
here.
think he's here
He
He
might have
anymore.
left.
dropped
He
off.
left at 9:48.
Oh, I see.
I was just giving a bit of a pause so that
My
could be cut
bad.
out after.
My bad. So now we're on to our favorite characters, and I already said mine. It was Morad because he's the lion, and of course my favorite character is going to be the kitty person. But
Mhm.
he also had an interesting story that tied in a lot to his areas, so I appreciated him quite a
Mhm.
bit, and he stuck out to me the most. So who do we have as our favorite characters? And let me know if this is separate from who you ended up marrying.
Mhm.
So mine favorite was Berengaria. Like, I liked a lot of the characters, but
Mm.
she's definitely at the top. She's like her, even just her design, even though those heels she's wearing seem very impractical, but she's got this massive axe and huge spiked shield, and she's a bit of a defrosting ice queen, as she's kind of standoffish at first, but does warm up to the others eventually, and she's seemingly working for the Empire, but that's only because she wants to steal the special armor so she can get her revenge on them. Although you do have to fight her once because she does get possessed by one of the Zenoira ghosts for a bit. And I remember she made such an impression because the first thing you meet her, she's like escaping from the Empire and she's all by herself. And then when she gets attacked, she's able to like take
Mm.
down groups by herself. Like you eventually have to rescue her, of course, because she can't stand them off forever. But that's just like she's just really amazing. Like she's great
Mm.
at combat. She's got a cool design, a great personality, even if she's standoffish at first. And she's not entirely separate. Let's just say I kind of saw both one character and it for the maiden scene and Bengari as well. So she was sort of my waifu, but not really.
Mhm. Similarly, but just a couple things to add, because Berengaria was one of my favorites as well that you didn't touch upon, was one of the first moments where the game kind of did pull wool over my eyes, even though it was obvious in hindsight, was that she's the elder sister of the rogue Travis,
Travis,
who he
right,
talked
right.
about.
Mm.
He
That's
talks
right.
about her so much, and then you see her, and I don't think for a little bit he knew that it was her. It wasn't until afterwards where he's like, "Oh my goodness, sister, you're here." I'm like, "Wait, what?"
How, how do you not recognize your own sister unless she had a glow up?
Uh,
Could be the armor.
Yeah.
yeah, because I think he was like a young teen and they were also part of a mercenary group together. So
Uh,
like the armor she has, like when you meet her is specific to like I had to do this to try getting my revenge. I
Gotcha.
don't know if it was revenge or not, but
It
it's
was
like
revenge. I think the Empire killed their
yeah.
parents, so
Yeah. So it was like I had to go undercover by wearing this when it's like they never show a before picture, but my guess it would be more like, a Lanchneck before she turned into the Stark Marquess. So and I think she wore a mask, didn't she? A helmet for a bit.
I don't
Yeah, I think
remember.
you're right.
Uh,
I really
uh,
liked Berengaria as well. Oh, sorry, did you
no,
have
all
anything?
good.
Oh, good. It's very hard to pick a favorite because I think favorite in this game refers to a few different things for me. Like, it could be whether they're like the strongest unit I have, which would be, someone like Berengaria, or even like Rosalinda. She was very useful for me too. But if we're talking about, I guess, design wise, I really liked Lena Lagos, because just, Legolas straight up. But also Virginia, I just something about her just really drew me in. I think maybe it was a whole design. She was a very good tank for me as well, from memory. And I just like her hair, her sword, everything.
Mhm.
She was a really cool cousin.
Yeah.
And she wears two shields with a sword, so that's kind of interesting.
Hmm.
Yep, yep. But yeah, there were definitely a few others as well. I liked Liza. Thought Liza was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very unique kind of class as well. I don't think I played an archer in that way in other games, so yeah, she's very interesting. But yeah, I guess if I had to put one, it'd be probably Virginia.
And we touched upon most of mine that I had for characters that's a little separate. I've talked about Ridiel enough. I'll just say the name and move on. So I'd say my favorite character all around that hasn't really been brought up was Selvi, because I mean, I like my random encounters and stuff like that. So having a character that just had a weird, quirky personality, it was like, come resurrect these phantoms for me and do more random combat. Like, yes, I will. And being the only named druid, which was such a odd class that did involve a lot more of you had to make them the main character of, like, even if they weren't the leader, you had to build around the druid. You couldn't just throw them in like every other class. A druid needed to have something to set them up to succeed. And I like tactical aspects to it, and a game like this of having something that complicated stands out. So the character, both the character and the way that it plays was very interesting to me.
Now I feel bad for ditching her. I didn't get to see her in battle enough.
Yeah, because I think I did try to utilize her at least in a back row setting. Now to our waifus, because I was sort of surprised when the game kind of said that there was a marriage component to this, but I was also, I would have picked my Lion Dude, but I've gotten kind of burned by the Trails of Cold Steel games, where if you picked a male character, it wasn't really a love interest; it was just a bestie, and I thought I would get a crappier ending. Otherwise, I didn't know until like today that you apparently could marry male characters.
Well, only one.
Yeah.
Travis.
Travis.
Travis, gotcha. So I ended up, like I said, I ended up marrying crap, what was her name again? It was the shield chick at the arena.
Amalia?
Malia?
Amalia.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I liked her the best as far as the girls. I just appreciate a tall, strong woman, and I thought she was the coolest character design out of all of them. Especially with the eye patch and the really, really big shield.
Hmm.
Like I think she has the biggest shield compared to the body, compared to any other character in the game. So
She might be the biggest character.
I think,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Just to, because I could have sworn I read something else. Now I'm looking at a guide overall, but they have a who did you give the ring of the maiden to? And there's more male characters than just Travis that's listed here, but none of them were were characters. So, like male were characters. So you still would have been able to give it to your were lion. But
Hmm.
like Bruno's listed on here, Colm, Podrick, Lex,
Podrick.
just
Oh.
marry your best friend. I don't know if there's a special thing you needed to do to unlock any of these extra characters, but as I thought it was just max your rapport. So anyone that Elaine can get 3 conversations with, I thought was the overarching who you can marry.
The more you know.
Hmm.
I've I still was very vanilla with my choice, though. I've mentioned earlier, wife and waifu will be different, so I'll at least surprise a little bit by talking about waifu after. But Elaine definitely was in love with Scarlett, so it felt odd to make him date someone that I like. Like, because I did the same thing even when it comes to Trails of Cold Steel. I kind of go, who's he gravitating, or who's the game gravitate them the most towards? But waifu, surprisingly, was also not Radiel. I would have probably have gone with Rosalinda.
Oh, good choice.
That was the closest to, like, okay, if I kept trying to justify it in my head, being like, well, maybe he wants to just, open up, diplomatic relations with another country. And then what ultimately, ironically, made me say Scarlet and not think that canonically it would have worked is because I hadn't done enough of the rapports past like the first. And when you do the first ones with Elaine, everyone's still friendly and just cordial. So I'm like, okay, let me max out all the rapport stuff. And then Rosalind's like, I love him too. And I'm like, well, if you would have done that like 10 game hours ago, maybe we could have married. I just learned too late, I guess.
I also paired Elaine with Scarlet. I just thought it was canon, like it was just meant to be from what I could see. Um, but my waifu would not have been Scarlet. I think now that I know, like, if I had to redo it, I think I would have paired Elaine with Travis actually, because I didn't know that he could be paired with Travis, who probably is my husbando, I guess. But yes, I had the same thought, I think, with you as well, Ryan. Like with I could see that Elaine had eyes for Scarlet. I really liked the interactions with the other girls. Like I think some of the ones with like Melisandre in particular were very amusing because she was very, she was very direct
Right.
with her.
She had an obvious crush on him.
Yeah, like from like the first second, like she was just, you could tell. And I was like, maybe I should pair them up, but I don't know. I wanted Elaine to be happy, and I thought he'd be happy with Scarlet.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Melisandre, we didn't really talk too much about, is very
Yeah.
much the you have a very pretty face, and that was all she kept saying to Elaine. So they didn't care about personalities. It was I'm a noble and you're pretty. Let's do this.
I think she also gave off the vibe where she thought he was good enough for her as well. Like she had really high, I think,
Yeah.
standards of herself, which is fine. But then I think she went on to sort of be like Elaine's her equal, or like just someone that's good enough to be with her, I think. Or am I
Since
misremembering her?
haven't gone too far into Fire Emblem, Melisandre is the archetype for like 10 different characters I can think of from what I know of Fire Emblem. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if it actually is the case or not. There's one, I think it's from the DS game. Her name's like Elise or Clarissa. I'm not sure why I like you because you're a commoner, but I am a noblewoman. At least in Fire Emblem Heroes, there's like 5 characters that act like that. So when Melisandre came, I'm like, oh, this is the Fire Emblem character.
So you've never played a Fire Emblem game?
I put about 5 hours into Sacred Stones and up until you get Tharja in Awakening.
Ah,
So not overly too far in either. I've played a lot of Fire Emblem Heroes, but there's a lot more big franchises than I care to admit that I have very little experience with.
gotcha. Oh, to be fair, I feel like Fire Emblem games were pretty inaccessible until Awakening.
Mm.
Yep, I would agree with that too.
Moving on to our last topic, though, did we have any memories tied up with this game at all? Like something that we was doing while we was playing it? Because I definitely remember this as my 2024 Denver vacation game because it was what I played in the car between naps because Denver is an 8-hour drive from where we live, and my husband drives and I navigate and nap and play games. And yeah, I ended up beating it in the hotel room that at some point, I can't remember when, and I think I ended up booting up the original Koromon after beating this because we had a backtrack for Koromon. Or not Koromon, I'm sorry, Nexomon. Nexomon. I knew it was one of the Pokemon clones. I just forgot which one it was.
I
But
was I was on that one, and all I can
yeah,
say is that's made me feel like, wait, that was 2 years ago, more than anything else.
yeah, yeah, because I knew that I had that backtrack coming up, and usually when I bring my Switch with me on vacation, I just make sure that any digital games I'm loaded up with are there, so that I don't have to mess with carts, except for the one that's in at the time, which was a Unicorn Overlord, and it's like, well, nothing else really sounds good right now, so I'm gonna play Nexomon and booted that up, and those two games, Unicorn Overlord and Nexomon, will forever be tied together in my head just because of that vacation. So,
Interesting association.
yeah,
hmm
that's why I like asking this question because I associate weird things with games that I'm playing at the time, and I'm always curious to hear what other people's associations with stuff that they're playing at the time is. Or if you have a
Well,
bad,
yeah.
sorry,
Well,
or if
yeah.
you have a bad memory, you might have no associations. So sorry. I was trying to break the awkward silence. Go ahead.
I have to say, in my case, this did come at a somewhat rough time because I was between jobs when this game came out. So it was kind of just a slow period of like trying to find work and then like justifying, like, okay, let me spend this much time doing stuff related to finding the job or like developing more skills, and then I can play a couple hours of it. And I can't remember if I got my current job, which I like a lot, right before I finished this game, or maybe I was still finishing it up. I don't quite remember, but yeah, I do associate it with like the sort of the being between jobs and that struggle,
Well, that's good that something positive came out of it, at the very
right?
least.
Hmm.
think this game for me was I was definitely looking for something to fill the Fire Emblem void. I think like a few months before that, I probably finished Fire Emblem Engage and wasn't quite engaged with the game.
Right.
So I sort of went, yeah, I don't know anyone else as well, or was it? I
We
think I've heard similar sentiments about Engage
Yeah.
across. Yeah.
our most boring backtrack we ever did was Fire Emblem Engage because
Oh,
Hmm.
everybody was
really?
like, yeah, because everybody was like, yeah, it
Like,
was a
yep,
game.
that was a game.
Oh
I,
no.
I didn't hate it. It wasn't my favorite Fire Emblem.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the sentiment.
Yeah, I think I probably would have said the same thing. So therefore, yeah, it would have just been probably the same type of show then.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I had, I was like, oh, when's the next Fire Emblem? Like, because I just watched the Nintendo Direct, so I'm like, I need the next Fire Emblem game. So nothing had
hmm
been out for a while at this point. I think this was like mid 2024 or so. So I know the game came out a bit earlier than that, but I hadn't done anything with it then. I yeah, needed to scratch the itch, and I know they're not quite the same in terms of like combat and things like that, but I think I watched the trailer. I got like really good vibes from it, so I just did the vibe check from the trailer, I guess, and I think I saw there was like voiceovers as well at somewhere, so I was quite interested in that, and just the whole recruiting as many people as you can type of gameplay.
hmm
So then I played it, and this was during a time when, so I didn't have a PS5 at this point. I just had my Switch One, and I was living in this tiny, tiny, tiny apartment. So at this point, I had this set up as this is not what I would normally do. I would normally have like either set up at my computer or like at a TV. I would dock the Switch and play it like one of those two ways. But this
hmm
particular time in my life, I had set up a projector in the bedroom and played this like docked to the projector, and it was such a good experience. It was like, yeah, so it became like my bedtime game, I suppose, as well because of that, which is hence why yeah, just till 2 a.m. I just would be playing this game. But it kind of made it a bit cozy, probably because I played it in bed. But yeah, it was a really good experience. But I was playing it through, I think, a rough time in my life as well, like on and off through a rough time. But every time I booted it up, I didn't forget how to play it, which was really good. I know with other
hmm
games, other RPGs, if I take too long, I don't know if you guys feel the same, but if you take too long and you come back, you forget everything and you just kind of want to start all over again.
Hmm.
This one,
hmm
I could go months actually in between and still be fine if I came back to it. So maybe that speaks to the like how well they taught people how to play the game in game
hmm
because because I would normally struggle with that. So I think I ended up finishing it early last year. I just took my time with it.
Yeah, this definitely feels like it would be a slow burn game to play over like the course of a year.
Mhm.
Yeah. But then when I did, it was like, because the battles took quite a long time. I would be fully immersed in those battles, but I'd probably only be able to do, yeah, a few of those big, long, timely, time-consuming battles a night.
Awesome.
Well,
Oh yeah, we forgot to
to
mention the voice acting in this game is actually quite good, and there's a lot of it,
Really
a lot
good.
of
yes.
characters, a lot of names I don't recognize, which is always cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, 8.4 localized this, by the way.
That explains
Oh.
a lot.
Yeah, and I forgot it had voice acting because I mostly played it in handheld mode, and I always, most of the time,
Um,
have handheld mode down pretty low so that I'm not bothering my husband, who's usually in bed with me. So it's also why I didn't remember a lot of the music for the same reason.
Was one of my small negatives was the rapport scenes had no voice acting. So
oh,
Probably
that's
because there's
true.
so many of them.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and Fire Emblem doesn't have that excuse.
Yeah,
Oh,
but that
I,
has Nintendo's backing, and
That's true.
this is Vanillaware.
That's true.
the voice actor for Elaine would not be able to speak anymore after all of his reports. And so, playing off of this is a slow burn game you could play over an entire year. One of the
Mm.
things I can say about that is I had my 1 year aspect shortened to 1 month, which, if you're a reviewer, 1 month, they make this, you make yourself feel like as a year because we didn't get this really that early. So it was like the review of this came out a bit later, but I just couldn't stop exploring every single aspect of it. And I actually was at a bit of a crossroads in my reviewing career at this point because I wasn't quite sure how I could necessarily have my writing match the score I was kind of looking for. And at the time, I would just kind of settle for not because I didn't know how to ask the question on how to, like, if I wanted it to be a higher score or lower score, what would I need to do to change it? And I had given a higher score than I wanted to game but for plugging for next week's, or sorry, 2 weeks from now's Backtrack. I've reviewed The Good Life, and that was much worse than a 2. I just didn't know quite how to explain myself for that. And I had reviewed Triangle Strategy, which got a 4.5, Live Alive, which was a
Ooh.
4.5. And I'm like, what can I play that is a 5? And I played this and ended up thinking about it and going, this is better than both those games. How can I make sure this gets the score that I think it would get? And as a result, because like one of the things I at least thought for myself is, can this game be a benchmark then? Because if you're trying to say this is a 5, any other game you ever want to review that's a 5 would have to measure up to this. And that's lofty standards to put on a game. And I went, yes, I can easily say that this game is a standard I want other games to reach.
Yep.
And I would agree with that 5 out of 5. I don't have a lot of complaints about this game, at least complaints that aren't specific me complaints, like turning off the battle animations because you just want to get through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know specifically that that's a me problem, so I wouldn't necessarily dock the game for anything like that.
But I mean, the game even gives you the option to do that too. So there are definitely
Yeah,
other people out there who'd
yeah.
be feeling the same.
And feeling guilty about it, no less, because you don't want to miss those beautiful animations.
Mm.
But yeah, you brought up next Backtrack. We're doing an April Fool's Day episode, and I don't know if I should. Well, I teased it on RPG Cast, so I should probably just say it here. We're talking about the worst RPGs we've ever played. Whether or not we're going to be sarcastic and pretend that they were good, or just go full on hate fest, I don't know. But it was Matt's idea. April 1st brings the worst, and it's like, yep. And I thought I was gonna talk about my old nemesis, Lunar Dragon Song, but then thought about it. I was like, no, I've played something just as bad, if not worse, since then. And that's what I'm gonna tease.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like I said, I think I said it on RPG Cast already. But if you're dying to know, then go listen to RPG Cast. Otherwise, that's what we've got next as we wrap up Unicorn Overlord. Go play this. I want more games just like this.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
And I want more Vanillaware. I don't think
Yeah,
Vanillaware has anything in the pipe currently, does it?
Not that I'm
No,
aware of.
not that I'm aware of, too.
Um,
and not yet, anyway.
and they don't really do sequels either. So,
Would you guys want a sequel of this?
yes. Not necessarily in the same world, but definitely
Mm,
with the same
Same gameplay, yeah.
same
Yeah,
gameplay.
yeah, yeah.
I'd agree. In a way, though, I'm comparing it to a game, that series no one else has probably played. I would be okay with it being like Brigadine, where it still has the same basic gameplay premise, but there's a new continent at war.
Mm,
Yeah,
So,
that could
you
work.
know, instead of having angels, they're fairy people, stuff kind of thing, right? Just, oh, you still have five different nations that are kept apart for various reasons, but here are the different nations and they interact differently.
instead of were creatures, it's vampires.
Exactly. You can have a rat vampire and a cat vampire. It's just were creatures all over again, except
I'd
they're
play it.
vampires too.
Oh, sorry, I was going through Vanillaware's history and seeing the games that are stuck on smaller consoles or stuff like the PSP and the Vita just kind of makes me sad. I wish that we could get a Switch version of Muramasa Rebirth, and if we could ever get that Grand Knights game that was supposed to be on the PSP out.
Mhm.
I feel like that was kind of a prototype for this because it was also a strategy game, though it was more online battles, I want to say.
Oh,
We were supposed to get that one and we never did. And I remember that making me very sad at the time. But that's another story for another day.
uh, tying it back to this game just a little bit because we didn't touch on it. I'll briefly mention this was a passion project of at least a few of the people at the company because the original design concept came up in 2014 and it took them 10 years almost since it started to have it come to fruition. So it was like once we get some of this stuff out of the way, it sold better than we thought. Let's see if we can finally realize this because Vanillaware is another one of those companies that's almost consistently, if this doesn't do as well as we think, even by our modest standards, we might shut down. Like they're never in a we have too much money state.
Mm,
And just looking at the wiki, it does look like it reached 1 million sales. It did take
yes.
a couple of months, but it did end up at least selling a modestly high amount. So,
Good on them.
Yeah, it did pretty well,
Awesome.
actually. Hmm.
It had a lot of marketing behind it thanks to the Nintendo Direct and just overall pushes from different from not the different companies. We had a lot of stories about it on RPG
Mhm.
Cast, put it that way.
mhm,
So they had a very good PR team.
Yeah, there's a demo too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I never got to play. I never got a chance to play the demo, and it was one of those ones that carried over, which I appreciate. So, but I think we can call it a podcast. Uh, Thank you, Cassie and Elena and Ryan that
Mhm.
left. Future thank you to Matt, who, while he is on vacation, he will be editing this, and I could not do this show without. And thank you to our listeners. Join in a pair of weeks where we're gonna. What's the opposite of gushing? Trash some games.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Should be
Uh,
fun.
yeah, I've heard terrible things about that Good Life game, so I'm curious.
As soon as I say you can turn into a cat in it, though, you're gonna be like, I'm playing it tomorrow. Like, don't,
No,
please don't.
no, I am aware, but I'm not always lured in with cat, especially when I've heard that it's not just like the story or whatever itself. It's like the game has sounded like badly programmed and stuff. And to me, that not even the premise or the idea of being able to play a cat could save a badly programmed game. So join us for that fun time, and we'll catch you in a pair of weeks. And have a good rest of your week. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Night.